all about. It's all about beauty. It's all about passion. It's all about change. It's all inclusive every day of the week. When the world comes together, united as one, sharing stories through the eyes of InView TV. Through the eyes of, through the eyes of, through the eyes of InView TV.
Hi, welcome to Hear the Music on InView TV. Today on the show we have country music singer and songwriter Kevin Sullivan. Kevin and his family are currently on a road tour called the Sulli-Van Tour. We caught up with Kevin in the town of Mount Isa. Kevin has a wonderful story to tell, so let's bring Kevin on the show right now.
Why don't we pack up all our things and move away? We're always saying we can't take another day, because life sure gets you down. Some people take you right up to the edge. So true. I feel my tolerance, well, it has limits too. There's just so many things that I'll no longer do, because life sure gets you down. Some people take you right up to the edge. How did I ever survive, never having you by my side? All I ever wanted to say, I miss your faces every day. We couldn't understand then how I'll simply turn on its end. Feeling of belonging collide, safely back to you when we cried. I went down to school to see my daughter's Christmas show. It's December, you remember the fun we used to know. How we've waited all the year, the kids so filled with awe. But the teachers shook their heads, no, it's not like before.
It's inheritance today, let's sail away. Spend the kids' inheritance today. Take a step, Kyle. Cha-cha-cha.
Kevin Sullivan, welcome to Hear the Music on InView TV. How are you?
G'day Bruce, and it's great to be back on InView TV. Actually, I was watching a couple of those clips that made me a bit homesick. One of them we filmed down at our hometown of Gerringong in New South Wales. We haven't been there for about 3 months, but how are you going?
Very good. Look, I'd rather be where you are. I'm sort of locked up, or locked down as they say, whereas you're out on the road travelling around, so I'd much rather be where you are right now. So I envy you in that regard.
Yeah, we feel pretty blessed to be on the road, and we've got family and friends back in New South Wales and other parts of Australia, so we're just taking one day at a time, and even our tour has become a little bit fluid, but we're just out there having a go, Bruce.
Very good. Look, before we get into the tour, the Sulli-Van Tour, tell us a bit about yourself and how you got to where you are now.
Look, I've always been a singer-songwriter. My dad was a Dixieland jazz pianist, and my mum loved country music. So a lot of my music has a bit of jazz infusion in it, but mother's always win over, and I've become an Australian country singer-songwriter. So I was formerly a police forensic crime scene investigator for many, many years, and did major crime, and but always played music as a great medium. And a couple of years ago I broke my right humerus, which is the bone between your elbow and your shoulder, and there's nothing funny about it. And I've been retired from the police. I've got a bit of post-traumatic stress and I've been a professional musician ever since. So I released my first album, which is Belonging, and the second album I've done about 3 or 4 songs that I recorded in Nashville. So we went on tour in November last year. We're sponsored by Sunland Caravans and Just Signs and Prince, and I'm ambassador for the Children's Tumour Foundation. And like I said, we're just lucky to be on the road. And music is such a great medium. It's been a great part of my life, and it's great to be writing songs and getting them out there to particularly regional Australia.
So tell us about you're now on the tour, the Sulli-Van Tour. You've got some great supporters, what I've seen. You've got a four-wheel drive you're driving around in. Looks like a custom-built caravan. So tell us about the tour. How did that come about?
We were just at home during COVID last year in 2020, and we'd been doing a lot of online shows at home and just sort of seeing how much joy it had been bringing to people, not only around Australia, but throughout the world, people commenting, and especially in lockdown. And I jokingly said to my wife, Belinda, who's also the road manager, I might add, I said, we should get one of those caravans. I mean, I've never owned a caravan, I've never driven one, I've never backed one, never been in one really. And some people who have followed me musically over the years, a couple of them had a Sunland, which is a premium caravan company out of Caboolture in Queensland. So I just contacted Sunland and we pitched for a partnership with them. And look, they've been so wonderful. And like you said, they designed a purpose-built caravan, and they've called it, as you can probably see on the back of the van here, they've called it the Sunland Sulli-Van, and it's 3.5 tonne, 21.6 foot long, and it's got the bunks and shower and toilet and washing machine, and it really is pretty much a 5-star home away from home. So I got used to towing it on the first tour, which was from November to April last year, finishing in April this year at the Man from Snowy River Festival. And they do take a little bit to get used to, but just the caravan parks and caravaning really is the best secret in the world. And Tamworth City Toyota helped us with the 200 series Toyota, so they've given us some assistance. Just Signs and Prince have done all the artwork. And I'm also an ambassador for the Children's Tumour Foundation, so we have that on the back of the van as well. But the big supporters have been the fans and caravan parks and venues who have given us gigs around the country. And we've been on tour now for about 7.5 months, and we've done probably about 76, nearly close to 80 shows. Wow. I have 5 children, but we've got the 3 young ones with us, 12, 9 and 6. So we're just having a go and taking one day at a time. We're heading towards Darwin, the territory in Darwin next.
So you're obviously enjoying the tour. I gather Belinda as well. Kids are loving it? Loving being on the road, are they?
Yeah, challenging. We're loving being just travelling around regional Australia, because I toured for many years. Even when I was in the police, I would go away with bands, and I've played a lot of these places, from Birdsville to Inaminka to Woomera to up to Karumba, and I've always talked about these fantastic parts of Australia. And my wife Belinda and my younger children, they've never seen these places, so it's been great to revisit these places, play music again. And we're doing distance education, so our 3 children are in years kindergarten, year 4 and year 6. So that's a bit challenging when we're trying to get reception in different places. And we've played in properties and cattle stations, so sometimes we're off grid a fair bit. So when we come back into town, sometimes school days are Saturdays and Sundays, but our kids are sort of in the groove with that. And it's a very minimalist life we're living. So we're in the caravan. There's not much room for anything but the guitars first, of course, and then the children and food. But my wife Belinda is the road manager, and she's a great mum, and she's the love of my life, and she's just keeping it all together. So we're spending time together, and it's really lovely quality time too. And as everyone tells us, our children are getting a great education around Australia, and they perform on stage with me as well. They sing a couple of songs and do a few harmonies, as you'll see a bit later in this interview we're doing.
Sounds beautiful. And look, I'm all very much that the best education is to travel. I just love the idea of travelling, and the fact that in today's day and age the kids can also online and do the normal education, but to travel and to see the country is just a great way to learn. You touched on it, so Where are you performing while you're going around? I think you mentioned you're performing at some caravan parks. So where are your venues that you're performing as you travel?
Yeah, we left home in early June 2021 for the second leg of this tour, of the Sulli-Van Tour. We head out to the Central West, out near Orange, a place called Millthorpe. The first gig we were snowed in. Then we shot up to Narromine, where I was nominated for a Dusty Boot Award for my pilgrimage, my Anzac Day song. I won the John P. Toomey Award at Narromine at the start of the tour. It seems so long ago, actually, Bruce. And then we shot up to Collie and up to Queensland, Gundawindi. We filmed the music video for "Spend the Kids' Inheritance," my latest song. We filmed that on Surfers Paradise with just the people we used, with just some random people that we'd met in a caravan park last year, and they did an amazing job. We did some ticketed shows at Caloundra, Maroochydore, Bundaberg, up through Cairns at the casino, Cattle Station out of Townsville, Cooktown. We went all the way to the Cape, right to the tip of Australia,
Wow.
the northernmost point, and we played up Hunton Bay in Barmiga, then down across to Karumba, which is up in the Gulf, and across to Adele's Grove, and now we're in Mount Isa. But we head to Camberwheel next weekend, the 28th and 29th of August, for the Drovers Camp Festival, so we're booked to play that. And then we're going to wind our way up to Darwin, and we've got some gigs lined up there, and then maybe head over to Western Australia.
Oh, fantastic. I can imagine with COVID, it sounds like someone's doing a bit of repairing in the background there, or some banging.
Yep, nailing it back there. One of the kids dispatched just to ask him could he hammer it later.
I can imagine with
this is what
COVID.
happened in
Yeah, it's all about
in the
adapting.
caravan parks. That's what.
Yeah, that's right. It's a live show. Things happen. I've seen birds fly through, which is fantastic as well. I can imagine with COVID, you've had to adapt. You might have had a plan to go to a particular venue or particular country town, and you've had to just change as you go along. Is that the case?
Yeah, we had most of our shows booked before we left home on this tour, and when we got to just before Mount Isa, we had been heading to Inaminka, which is outback South Australia, and I was booked to play at the Inaminka Hotel and release my song "Spend the Kids' Inheritance" there, and then we're going to wind down through South Australia, through Hawker, and on the way to the Mildura Country Music Festival. As it turned out, when we got closer to heading to South Australia, the borders changed a bit, and even though we haven't been in a hotspot the whole time, and we've been very lucky, touch wood, we've kept away from all hotspots, and we've been away from New South Wales for 3 months, but we couldn't get into South Australia. So we rerouted, and we have been lucky. We haven't had to do that a lot, but we're now rerouting up through the Territory and across to Western Australia. So I think when you're on the road and doing what we're doing, you've got to be flexible, and so far so good. We've had lots of gigs. People haven't had a lot of live music out here, Bruce, and a lot of venues we play in clubs and pubs and lots of caravan parks, and people get very emotional when they see our Sulli-Van family show. They haven't seen their children or grandkids, and it's a very emotional show for a lot of them, and our kids are singing more, and they're getting very confident, and we're just, like I said, we're just trying to keep live music going throughout Australia, and particularly regional Australia.
I picked up you used the term there, your family show, and I think that's a great way to describe it, because I've seen your kids up on stage, and you're saying it seems to be more and more. It really is a family show. Your whole family, as you said, Belinda is the tour manager, your kids get up on stage, they perform and sing. It very much is a family show, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is, and a lot of people are very amazed, and I'm still trying to get my name out. So, we've got lots of gigs booked, but sometimes people's don't quite know me. It's like Kevin Sullivan who, but we don't get offended, because when we deliver our show, people are very much like, oh my goodness, where have you guys come from? And it's like I said, especially where there's virtually no artists playing around the country. There's very little touring going on. A lot of the festivals have been cancelled, from Gympie to just about everything else. So for us to be doing not only live music, but this family show, which is in, it's along the lines of the old Slim Dusty shows, and I was in the Dead Ringer band. They used to do a family show, and we're keeping that alive. And there's a bit of an empty space for that market in Australia. So we're just trying to fill that void. And our kids are learning songs. They're on stage. They're confident. But the joy that we give people around the country, it's a pretty lovely and a very special gift that we're giving, and so we get it just as much as the crowd do too.
Fantastic. I know Belinda is your tour manager. She's also your cameraman today. So just ask Belinda to bring you back in the shot a little bit. Just zoom around a little bit if she can. Pan around. Okay, so you've got a new single. That's better, thank you. Got a new single. It's called Spend the Kids' Inheritance. Tell us the inspiration of that.
Yeah, Spend the Kids' Inheritance is... it's just a comment I heard many years from travelling around and playing shows, and you'd see a lot of these caravan people and a lot of grey nomads, and you'd say, "Oh, have you been travelling long?" And they would, a lot of them would say, "We're spending the kids' inheritance," and a lot of them don't so much mean they're spending the kids' inheritance, but I think the song is about living life, and particularly in these challenging times where, it's just pretty crazy how we've had to adapt in the lockdowns. The song Spend the Kids' Inheritance is just about getting out when it's safe to do so and living life. And we've seen literally thousands and thousands of people on the road all over Australia, even the remote places like up in Cape York. There were so many people on the road, so many caravan people, so many grey nomads, and so many people just travelling. So the song's about getting out there and living life. And my two children, my two bigger kids, KJ and Chacha, they do some harmonies both on stage with me, and they're going to do some of the backing vocals for me now. So would you like to hear our new song?
Look,
Bruce?
please do. Look, thanks for being on the show. It's fantastic to have you on the show. I really love talking to you. I love what you're doing, getting around, and as you said, bringing live music back to the country areas, which is a brilliant thing to be doing. So please take us out with a new single.
Thanks, Bruce. This has been Kevin Sullivan on InView TV, and here's my latest song. It's called Spend the Kids' Inheritance. Work's all done, retired now. What are we to do? Spend the kids' inheritance with you. Babysit once a week when we're back from our cruise. Spend the kids' inheritance with you. We'll be towing caravans, sending drivers mad. People call us like the big forever green nomad. You and I, we work too hard to just give it away. Spend the kids' inheritance today. We're just back from Europe and we're keen to go again. Our kids came to the airport, driving home, they just complain. Please slow down, you're getting old, your money's running low. Don't you think it's time you kind of slow? But we just laugh, we're living life, so we just shake our heads. We'll slow down when both of us are dead. We'll be towing caravans, sending drivers mad. People call us lots of names, but we're the green nomad. You and I, we work too hard to just give it away. Spend the kids' inheritance today. That's what I say. Spend the kids' inheritance today. Let's sail away. Spend the kids' inheritance.
That was beautiful. Thank you, Kevin, and the kids. Thank you very much. You know, I love the most what you're doing for. What you're doing for music is just lovely. What you're doing for the music lovers in country areas is lovely. But what a lovely family you've got, and I can see how much that you're just enjoying life, and your kids are enjoying life, and that's just brilliant. Thanks very much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us, Bruce. Bye.
Thank you. Kevin Sullivan there and his family, amazing. We can learn a lot from that. Very much is enjoying life, so is the family, experiencing the country, entertaining the country. It's a great inspiration for us all. Thanks, Kevin. Thanks for family for being on the show, and thanks for joining us on Hear the Music on InView TV. We've got some more exciting shows coming up soon. Thank you. Bye.